She's smiling at you, she's touching your arm, she's telling you that you're different from all the others. But behind that smile, she has already looked at your passport, your accent, and your watch, and she has already decided exactly where you rank. Stick around because I'm about to tell you the truth nobody in that bar will ever say to your face. Hi, I'm Marian. I grew up around this world. I've watched it from the inside for years. And on this channel, I tell foreign men the things Filipinas think but never say out loud. Today, we're talking about something a lot of you have wondered but never dared to ask. How do the girls in the bars actually rank men by nationality? And where do you really fall on that list? Before I get into it, if you enjoy watching my videos, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a video in the future. Thanks. Okay, come sit down, get comfortable, because some of this is going to sting a little. Let's start with something you need to understand before any of the rankings make sense. This is not really about your nationality. Your passport is just a shortcut. When a girl in a bar sees an American walk in, or a German, or an Australian, she isn't thinking about your country's flag. She's thinking about patterns. She has seen hundreds, sometimes thousands, of men from that part of the world, and she has learned what tends to come with that accent: generosity, temper, how fast he falls, how fast he disappears. Nationality is just her fastest way of guessing what kind of night or what kind of relationship she is about to walk into. So, when I describe how she sees different nationalities, understand that it is a pattern built from experience, not a rule carved in stone. You can absolutely be the exception. In fact, that is exactly how you win this game, and I'll show you how by the end. Let's talk about the reputations one by one, because I know this is what you really came for. Start with American men. In most bars, Americans are seen as the generous ones, sometimes the loud ones, and often the fastest fallers. A girl will tell you an American tips well, talks a lot, and tends to say I love you within the first week. That's not always a compliment from her side. It tells her he's emotional, he's used to getting attention, and if she plays it right, he's the type who will want to take care of her fast. But it also means he can be the quickest to feel jealous, the quickest to get possessive, because he's used to being the center of the room back home. And he's not always ready for how independent a Filipina can be. Then you've got British men. The word that comes up again and again is careful, not cheap, careful. A Brit will buy the drinks, he'll be polite, he'll make her laugh with that dry humor, but he watches his money. Girls respect that in a strange way because it tells them this is a man who thinks before he acts, which also means he's harder to fool. The downside, from her point of view, is that he can be slow to open up emotionally. She might spend 3 visits trying to figure out if he actually likes her or if he's just being friendly, because that reserved British charm reads as mixed signals to a Filipina who is used to men saying exactly what they feel. Australian men have a reputation for being easygoing, physical, and blunt. They joke around, they don't put on airs. And a lot of girls say Aussies feel the most like real friends before anything romantic even starts. That's actually a huge advantage because trust builds faster, but bluntness cuts both ways. An Aussie who says exactly what's on his mind after a few beers can say something careless, and in this culture, saying the wrong thing bluntly can end things faster than almost anything else. Canadian men often get grouped close to Americans, but with a softer edge. The running joke in the bars is that a Canadian apologizes for things that aren't even his fault. Girls read that as kindness, sometimes as a green light, because a man who is that agreeable can be steered. I'm being honest with you, that's exactly how some girls see it. Kindness without boundaries looks like an opportunity. Now, here's the part that surprises a lot of you. European men from countries like Germany or Scandinavia often rank higher than people expect for one specific reason: stability. They're seen as less emotional, less likely to make a scene, and more likely to actually follow through on plans. A German man who says he'll come back in 3 months and send support in the meantime, in her experience, usually does exactly that. In a world where a lot of foreign promises evaporate the second the plane takes off, that kind of reliability is worth more to her than romance. And then there's a smaller group that doesn't get talked about enough: the Irish and the New Zealanders. Girls often describe them as somewhere in between the loud excitement of an American and the reserved calm of a German. Friendly almost instantly, quick with a joke, but with less of that fast falling in love that the Americans are known for. In the bars, a lot of hostesses will actually say these are some of the easiest men to talk to for hours because there's no pressure in the conversation, no agenda, no rush, and when there's no rush, a girl relaxes, and a relaxed girl pays more genuine attention. Let me also be honest about one nationality that comes up constantly in the private conversations between girls, and that's men from other parts of Asia, particularly Korean and Chinese tourists who pass through the same bars. The reputation there, fairly or not, is transactional and fast, quick to negotiate, quick to move on, less interested in conversation at all. I bring this up not to insult anyone, but because it shows you something important. The girls are not ranking based on skin color or where on the map you're from. They're ranking based on how a man treats the interaction, whether he sees her as a person to know or a service to purchase. That pattern shows up inside every nationality, including yours, no matter what country you're from. Notice what I did there. I just told you the real hierarchy, and it has almost nothing to do with your country and everything to do with three things: how generous you are without being careless, how emotionally stable you are without being cold, and whether you actually do what you say you'll do. Those three things are what get ranked. Your nationality is just the label she puts on the guest before she gets to know the real you. Here's a story that shows exactly how this plays out. A friend of mine used to work in one of the tourist bars in Angeles. She told me the girls had an entire private shorthand for men before they even sat down. Let me be honest with you. If you're a good man, over 50, and you feel invisible back home, the Philippines might just be the best thing that ever happens to you. But only if you do it right. David, 61, from Manchester, England, spent 3 lonely years after his divorce, convinced his best days were behind him. Then he found my Philippines dating playbook. 6 months later, he met Rosa. Warm, genuine, and crazy about him. Last month, they got engaged. David isn't special. He just stopped guessing and finally understood how Filipinas actually think. I'm Marian, and in How to Make Any Filipina Want You, I show you exactly how. The mindset that makes you attractive here, where to meet real women, and how to spot the ones who only want your wallet. Your second chance is waiting. You can find the link in the description and the pinned comment. Check it out. They'd glance at a guy's shoes, his watch, how he ordered his drink, whether he made eye contact with the girl behind the bar, or looked past her like she was furniture. Within about 90 seconds, they'd already have him mentally filed, not by nationality first, actually, but by confidence and manners. Nationality only got layered on top to guess the details: how fast he'd spend, how fast he'd fall, how fast he'd leave. The men who got the best treatment weren't the richest ones or the ones from the countries with the best reputation. They were the ones who walked in relaxed, who talked to the girl like a person instead of a transaction, and who didn't try too hard. That's the insider truth. In a room full of men, throwing money and compliments around like confetti, calm confidence is rare, and rare gets remembered. Here's another little scene for you, because I think it makes the point even clearer. Picture two men walking into the same bar on the same night. The first one is loud the moment he sits down, snapping his fingers for the waitress, ordering around for the whole table, telling everyone within earshot how much his last vacation cost. The girls smile at him, they laugh at his jokes, they let him buy them ladies' drinks all night. And the moment he goes to the bathroom, the whole table quietly rolls their eyes at each other. The second man sits down, orders one drink, asks the girl next to him a genuine question about her family, and actually listens to the answer. He doesn't buy a single round the entire night. But guess who gets the phone number at the end of the night? And guess who gets a text 3 days later asking how his trip is going? It's almost never the loud one. Loud gets attention for an hour. Genuine gets remembered for a month. Now, real quick before I get into the rest, if Marian is making sense to you so far, do me one small favor and tap that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. It really helps me keep making these videos just for you, and it makes sure you never miss the next one. Okay, come closer because this next part is the one most men get completely wrong. Here's what almost nobody tells you. The bar ranking and the real relationship ranking are two completely different lists. In the bar, at that moment, generosity wins. Whoever buys the most drinks, tips the biggest, and makes the night feel exciting gets the warmest attention that night. But that is a short game, and it resets every single night with every new customer. If you think you're winning because a girl seemed extra sweet to you on your first visit, understand she is sweet to a lot of first visits. That's the job. The real ranking, the one that decides who she actually wants to build a life with, flips almost everything I just told you. In that longer game, the man who talks too much about his money loses points because it tells her he thinks that's his only value. The man who is emotionally stable and predictable rises fast because a Filipina who has spent years in that environment has usually already dated the exciting, unpredictable type and she is tired. Genuinely tired. What she wants long term is calm. A man who calls when he says he will call. A man who doesn't disappear for 2 weeks and then act like nothing happened. A man who treats her family with respect instead of like an inconvenience he has to tolerate to get to her. This is especially true with mature and older Filipinas, the ones in their late 30s, 40s, and beyond. And this is where I want you to really pay attention because this is my specialty. A younger girl in a bar might genuinely be chasing excitement and nationality stereotypes about generosity and fun matter more to her. But an older Filipina, especially one who has already raised kids, already been through a hard marriage, already worked two jobs to keep her family fed, is not ranking you by your passport at all anymore. She's ranking you by whether you feel safe. Does he listen when I talk? Does he get angry over small things? Does he make me feel like a burden or like a partner? A mature Filipina has usually met every version of the loud, generous foreigner and the careful, quiet one, and she has learned that neither type matters if the man underneath is not kind and consistent. Let me stay on the mature Filipina angle for one more minute because I know a lot of you watching are not 25-year-old bar hoppers. You're men in your 50s and 60s looking for something real with a woman closer to your own age. Here's what changes when the woman across the table is 42 instead of 22. She has already done the math on you within the first conversation, and it's not the math you think. She's not calculating how much you're worth. She's calculating how much of her time you're worth. A mature Filipina has usually already supported a household on her own, already fixed her own leaking roof, already dealt with a man who promised the world and delivered excuses. So when you sit across from her, she is quietly testing for exhaustion. Is this going to be another man I have to manage? Another set of moods I have to read? Another disappointment I have to explain to my children? If the answer feels like yes, even a generous, good looking, well spoken foreigner gets ranked low fast because she has learned the hard way that comfort and consistency beat excitement every single time. If the answer feels like no, if you feel steady, if you feel like someone who adds to her life instead of adding to her workload, you jump straight to the top of a list that has nothing to do with nationality at all. I want to give you one more layer because this is the part that will actually change how you show up next time you're in that room. Every single nationality stereotype I described to you can be broken in either direction by how you personally behave in the first 10 minutes. An American who doesn't overspend and doesn't rush his feelings immediately gets treated as different, and different is exactly what makes her curious. A Brit who opens up a little earlier than expected stands out from every reserved countryman who came before him. You are not stuck being ranked as your passport's average. You get to decide every single time you walk into a room, whether you play into the stereotype or quietly break it. And trust me on this one, breaking it in a good way is the single fastest way to actually get remembered instead of forgotten by morning. So let's bring this all the way home. Yes, the bars have an unspoken ranking by nationality. And yes, it's built on real patterns that add up over years of experience. Generous but fast falling. Careful but slow to open up. Easygoing but blunt. Kind but sometimes push over. Reliable but sometimes cold. That's the shorthand. But the shorthand is only where the story starts, not where it ends. The real ranking, the one that actually decides who gets a life with her instead of one memorable night, is built on calm, confidence, consistency, and respect. And that ranking has nothing to do with what country issued your passport. If there's one thing I want you to walk away with, it's this. Stop trying to win the bar ranking. Win the real one instead. Be the man who does what he says, who treats her like a whole person and not a category, and who doesn't need a stereotype to make him interesting. That's the man every Filipina, young or mature, is actually hoping walks through that door. Before you go, if you're serious about finding real love in the Philippines, I've put everything I know into one honest guide: how to make any Filipina want you. The mindset, where to meet genuine women, the green flags, the red flags, all of it. It's the playbook I wish every good man had before he came here. Grab your ebook in the description or in the pinned comment, and I'll see you there.